Hi friends, this is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing. Welcome to the Joy of Blue collaboration. Every month my friends and I share projects that involve blue. It might be paper crafting, it might be quilting, paint pouring, whatever it is. It's not a paper craft limited collab. At the end, I'll try to remember to talk about how we're going to do it next year and if you want to join. Typically in a collaboration video, you just share your finished projects. It's literally just a project share. First of all, this is my collab. And second of all, I know that you like to see process videos and how people do things. And many people comment that they like to see me because I'm real. I think that means that I show you when I mess up. I need to make some Hannukah cards, and Michelle asked if she could see. She thought it would be helpful. She mentioned that she has a Star of David stamp, I think a smaller one. Now, I thought I had one also, Michelle. I think what happened was years ago when I went through a thing where I thought I wasn't going to be a paper crafter, I got rid of a ton. These are all the Hannukah stamps I have now. I think they are. 2 personal stamp exchange from 98 and 93. These are some of my favorites right here. You know I love the stars. Then this one was from a Stampin' Up set, I'm sure. It has no brand whatsoever. I don't know. Maybe somebody will correct me. Then this one just came into my life more recently, maybe somehow in something that Noni and I picked up. I don't know that I've ever actually made a card with this one. Or maybe it's been here 5 years and that's my marker for new. This one I've had for a long time too. This I think has been in my stash. It's 98. And then technically a birthday candle. It's from a Stampin' Up set. So let's talk about ideas. If you had one small Star of David, I shared this card in updates this week, and I would think about something like this or some things I'm going to show you. And I would stamp that Star of David with either high contrast or glitter or embossing powder, something that says wow, and then back it with other die cuts to give it some size. And if you're handing out your cards, I'd foam mount it to pop it up even more. If you're mailing them, like Vicky did with this one, then I would keep it a little flatter probably because it's going to get beat up. But you could think about how can you make some interest on the card and then just have a small Star of David. And I might move it up and over a little bit just because you said it was pretty small, I think. I usually struggle a little bit because you know I love blue. That's no problem. I've got Night of Navy here and a bunch of brilliant blue, thanks to Kathleen. But I try to keep them gender neutral, or at least I have to make some for males, which means I'm keeping down the bling and the glitter. I play up patterns in papers or just interests. You can apply what we're doing here to Christmas cards, Halloween cards, Thanksgiving cards, anything where you're short on supplies. So this is a great video for new paper crafters too. One sticker or you have one stamp, but you don't have a lot of variety. And for me, I usually make 5 or 6 Hannukah cards and I give them all out in the same room at the same time. So I can use dimension, but I don't want them to all be the same, which you know I would never do anyway. So what I did was I went through a couple pads of paper and I found this. If I'm going to tear paper, I love to have the contrast. So I found a piece of paper. I do love the polka dots, but that's not really what I'm doing here, but you could. I found a piece of paper that had the white in it. If you don't have this kind of paper, you could put white ink on it. You could emboss the edge, like you just take your Versamark pad or whatever you have, kind of run it along the edge, then hit it with embossing powder and melt it. It looks gorgeous. I have done that, but I'm going to be pretty lazy and not emboss in this video. I'm just going to tell you all the ways you could. I've torn this piece of paper. Now I think I'm going to tear it one more time. I want the white to show on this side, so I'm going to tear it this way. There is a difference, not necessarily a right or wrong, but depending on what you're going for when you are tearing paper, you might want to think about which direction you're tearing it or which side is up. See, on this side, I'm not showing the white layer. On this side, I am. Then I would take this, I would put it right here, and we'll just do it as we go. That was kind of what I was thinking. You would see some finished products. And it doesn't matter. I just grabbed this bottle of glue. They're both clogged up. And I'm going to glue it on here. And all that does is give my card some interest. Gives it a little bit of dimension and interest. Then I'm going to trim it off. You can measure and cut them both the same length, and there's no rule against that, but this always works for me. Then I've already cut this while we were talking. I like layers and contrast, so I'm not just going to glue that down. If you're a beginning card maker or you have very limited supplies or time, you totally can. This one would work. I could go with this and then words underneath it. I could also, if I wanted just a Star of David right here, let me show you. If you have some of these old Zig markers or the Stampin' Up markers, any markers that are water-based, they cannot be alcohol. Don't do it with your Copics, okay? You can take your marker. This is Brilliant Blue, and we're using Night of Navy, but I am not above mixing and matching these. So if I just wanted the star, maybe I want to put it on the envelope, or maybe I was working with Michelle and I wanted to be like her and she had a star stamp and I didn't, I can just color that, breathe on it a little bit, and stamp it. Now, your stamp has to actually be clean to pull that off, right? You have to make sure this part is clean. But now I have a Star of David stamp. You could also do the same with the sentiment here. And with this one, you could cut off the sentiment here and that. So think about if you have one stamp that combines both your sentiment and your image, and you want to make different cards, maybe switch to markers instead of ink pads. Let's try it with a Crayola while we're at it too. We can't use that stamp because that wouldn't be a good test. So let's use a clean one. Let's just try the candle here. What if we didn't want the star at the top of it? There we go. See, Crayolas work too. And that's a really nice color. So you can use water-based markers for that. That's a great way. Maybe you want to make a card for your friend and their favorite color is orange and you have not, I'm going to say, invested in an orange ink pad. Or for fall, maybe you don't have fall ink pads, you just have black and blue, pretty much like me. So you can use markers. And maybe you can borrow them from your neighbor or your grandkids or something. To finish the card that I'm working on, I want to have a layer of Night of Navy, or, ooh, let's do something more fun. Let's use a fancy paper. So I got these out too, because I was assuming you don't have a lot of Hannukah supplies, but you're a paper crafter, so you have stuff. So we could use this one. Ooh, let's do it. I think iridescent is still masculine. Do we? Yeah, sure. So all I'm going to do is trim this down. Sometimes I glue it on first. Sometimes I do it after. I don't know that there's a right or a wrong way. And I don't really care exactly what the measurements are. I just want it to be big enough to look good. And a square cut, because that would make me crazy if it's crooked. I get in and I look around and think, okay, how can I make them different? Because this is actually more stamps than I've had in some years when I go to make my cards. And maybe next year I'll find more. Or maybe I did give them all away. You never know about me. If you get too many, you use the same 4 or 5 anyway. Now I can leave this. Maybe I was making cards for different people and I want that. I think I want all that iridescent paper to show. So I'm not going to trim the paper behind it. There's no rule that says you have to. Maybe you wanted to mix it up a little bit. And I think that would be my card. Now, if you wanted to make more interest, another idea here would be, okay, imagine this stamp was clean. I know this is my room, so that's probably not going to happen, right? But you could take the Versamark pad. If you have it, they also make markers and stuff, but you probably don't have that. I don't think normal people do. And then see this part with the stars and the interest? You could smush, that's the technical term, smush down on that and then stamp on the background. So you'd have little areas of, just clean it all. Let's just do it. Maybe you're not familiar with Versamark ink, or maybe you just have no idea what I'm talking about. Versamark is one of those inks that I think a new crafter might want to ask Santa for, because I'm a firm believer that you don't have to buy all the colors of ink and you don't need everything, but I do love having a Versamark ink pad. I use it for heat embossing. It's my go-to for heat embossing, and it also does tone-on-tone patterns. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see on here, but this is what I was saying. Okay, I don't want to get the candles. I just want to get the pretty stars and the little dreidel. I think there's like tiny stars and dreidels. Okay, and then I don't even know if this is going to show for you, but we'll try. We're asking a lot of my phone. And then I would do it more than once in different places. And what I think about sometimes is where is this going to be, right? If you're doing this, don't spend your time stamping behind there, but make it so it would pop out. So I have one at the top, one on the side right here, and then one down at the bottom. Now, on any other color, this would show better, okay? If you do this on red and green for Christmas cards, or if you do it on a lighter color, the other thing is it also takes a little bit to dry. It will likely show better when it dries. But this is a great example of, with this one stamp, I could make backgrounds with it. And if I had a light blue or a white, I could use a marker and do that exact thing. I could get the image out and I could do the Happy Hanukkah. And I could do one card just like I'm showing you, but then you could mix it up and break those up. I think I'm going to leave it flat because honestly, I don't know if I'm going to use this card this year. So I'm going to take a piece of paper. I'm going to glue it behind this side because I don't want it wobbly. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't want, especially if you let a card sit around for a year or you're mailing it or somebody has it on their desk for a long time, the part that goes up over this paper will get like a bit of a wobble in it. So that's nice. That keeps it even. If you wanted even more interest, you could have torn, well, there's a dog hair in there. There we go. We're back to our normal ways in the craft room. Feels like things are right again. Getting dog hair in our projects. I don't know where I was, but you could tear more strips of paper and have more interest, mix it up more. And then, of course, this is going to go on a white. So you're going to have lots of contrast. And I love the contrast. You could round the corners. You could tear, let's do that. You could tear this strip right here. I don't want to tear it too much because I put that Versamark down there. But it just adds more interest. Tearing paper is something that we don't think of a lot. And it's free. It might be hard on your nails if you're really into your manicure. The other way to do it is to take a ruler and tear it. You will get a barely frayed edge, but it would be another way to mix up your cards. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna glue it down. I'm not gonna put it on that white card base because it doesn't have my logo. Those are for something else. Those are for my work cards. But I just wanted you to see what it will look like. And then I'm watching, I don't know if you can see where the tone on tone is. So let's get you in focus and see if you can see it at all. So that would be a Hanukkah card and a whole bunch of ideas on how to mix it up. I know that was kind of long for a collaboration video, but I hope it was helpful. And I hope you got some ideas about how to make cards with limited supplies. Never underestimate the water-based markers. People get so excited these days about Copics, and that's great, but there are other markers that are old school and help you. Oh, I also had gotten this out. Now remember, if you're thinking about Hanukkah, you're not thinking snowflakes and poinsettias, but this would have been gorgeous too. We could make one with this. I usually use silver, but there's no reason that you couldn't. This would have been a lovely background behind the menorah, and it would pick up the stars in there. Now they're not Star of David, but they're still gorgeous. Just go through your stash and think, what could I use? Now the other thing is, Hanukkah cards do not have to be blue and white. That's me because I like them. Just Google and look. You buy Hanukkah cards with all sorts of different colors and patterns and richness and texture, and that's fine. So if you're somebody who likes a lot of color, get it out, tear your paper, collage it, make all kinds of backgrounds, and then use your cute little tiny stamp if that's all you have. Okay? Thanks for watching. Oh, message me. You should get on the list if you want to be an official participant and get the thumbnail for next year's Joy of Blue. I would try and get that email out probably by New Year's Eve. You have a little bit of time to email me and get on it. If you watch this video late and the email's already gone out, then the answer is you can use the hashtag. Take care. Bye-bye.